Hello chess friends, and welcome to Jozarov's chess channel, and welcome to my Basics in Chess series. So in this series we're following opening principles, middle game strategies and the endgame strategies. Today we're continuing with the psychology in chess. I've created already one video about the psychology in chess. I'll show you that link of that video at the end of this video, and today we'll talk about a very important topic in chess, and it's this blundering in chess. Blundering in chess probably happened to all of us. It happens to me, it happened probably to you, and it's really frustrating when you're blundering maybe a piece in a completely winning position. Then we get frustrated, then we have even ideas, I want to stop to play chess. It happened to me also, of course, because losing in chess is really frustrating, and in this video we'll try to improve our psychological skills in the chess game and our tactical skills also. So one of the most important principles about not blundering is to understand your opponent's threats. So when we're playing a chess game, you have to always think about your opponent's threats, about his possibilities, about his tactical shots, about his strategical ideas, about his strategical elements of the chess game, and you should never forget about them. So when we're playing a move, then we play our next move, then we stop again. You have to do it from the beginning. Again, we're calculating our opponent's threats. Of course, it's much more easier in maybe rapid or classical time format, in blitz format. We're playing by our intuition and our tactical skills, but in a classical game, you should really calculate all of the moves by your opponent. So one of the also important thing about not blundering is that every position has its own rules. So a new position, it means new rules. Maybe you have played the middle game and we had maybe a static center, then it went to a dynamic center, and maybe in the static center we had or in some other positions we had a plan, then the position changed and we stuck to our plan. So never get too addicted to your plan, because every position, as I mentioned, has its own rules. Okay, maybe this plan worked and then you get a slightly advantage, then you should continue playing on this advantage, but don't get too addicted to your plan, because it can be sometimes wrong. You have, as I mentioned, created weakness in your opponent's position, which is a good strategical element. You can play onto that, change the directions of the attack, and really try to win the game very slowly and very easily. Because when we get stuck to our opponent, to our plan, well, our opponent can see this plan, and he'll try to battle against this plan, to find some counter plays and really try to draw or even win the game. So understanding a position, what I mean about this, that sometimes really a draw is a draw. You'll see now in a couple of examples that players try to win drawing games and they lost because of that. They didn't play just to get a draw. Understanding a position is really important, because you shouldn't play dangerous in a drawish position. You should go for a draw, play really slowly and try to handshake your opponent, because maybe this draw is the best outcome of this game that can happen to you, and you won't lose the game. So don't forget about your opponent's threats. It's a little bit different than understanding your opponent's threats, because sometimes we can forget about these threats. You see now in this first example that I will show you that White had a completely winning game, and he forgot about the simple checkmate threat because he was calculating something else, and that's why he lost the game. So never forget about them. Again, I'm pointing you out, you should really first check out your opponent's threats, but don't forget about them, because there can be sometimes really present through the whole game, and you can get punished if you forget about them. So calculation till the end is very important also, because when we get into a tactical sequence, you should see this tactical sequence till the end. Sometimes we see the tactics to a point where we want to see it. So maybe your opponent has some in between checks, in between attacks, which you maybe didn't realize in the continuation of the game, and then again you lost the game because you didn't see this tactical sequence till the end. So these are the most important things. Let's see now a couple of examples, and I'm pointing you out that here these are top Grandmaster games, so we have world champions blundering like beginners. So here the first game, it's a game played by Mikhail Chigorin against Wilhelm Steinitz. Mikhail Chigorin, you see, he's a piece up, he has an extra knight on the board, and of course black's idea is to play here rook on h2 followed by rook on g2, and it's a checkmate. And here you see after rook on d2, here Mikhail Chigorin simply forgot about this opponent's threat and got checkmated here after rook takes on h2, king on g1, and here we have rook on g2, very nice checkmate. So but that was happening because I think Mikhail Chigorin was really annoyed by the spin of this rook against this knight on e6. So it's really simple here. You have to get out of the spin and then go into favorable endgame. So the best move, of course, is here rook takes on b7, after maybe h5. Here bishop on h5 can be played, rook on b3, knight takes, and here we can go again into a favorable endgame because now we are up the exchange, we have the rook for the bishop. And you see now, as I mentioned here, bishop on b4 was played by Mikhail Chigorin, and he got punished. He got checkmated here with the move rook on g2. So you see, he forgot about his opponent's threats because he was calculating something else. He tried some counterattacks and really lost in a completely winning endgame here. So here it's really funny endgame. We have the game Alexander Belyavsky against Leif Erland Johansen. And that's the problem of whites here, because white is a much stronger player, and it happens to stronger players very often that they cannot afford to maybe play a draw against a low rated player. And here in the continuation, f3 was played by Alexander Belyavsky, queen on b1, and you see this is now completely drawish endgame here. Basically the best move here is f takes g6. After f takes g6, king on f4 can be played, and now queen on b8, king on e5, and here we would have a perpetual check and maybe even a draw here. So it's really bad here to try to win the game because you can get even checkmated, and that happened to Alexander Belyavsky here. Here after queen on b1 we have king on f4, and here Alexander Belyavsky lost the game in one move. Here we have a very nice checkmate, queen on b8, and it was game over. So you see, in this game Alexander Belyavsky tried to win the game with an aggressive king on f4 move, didn't calculate all of that, and really got punished because he tried to win the game. He didn't want to do this, as I always like to say, this handshake. It's a draw. You played a very well game. Although you're maybe a low rated, you should congratulate your opponent and really try to play better in the next round. So here we have a game. It's a game played by Chandler Murray against Zuz Apolgar. Here we have a completely winning endgame here for white, and here after g5, knight on g8 was played. We have king on e6, and now knight on h6 was played. And here again, this is really a cheap trick sort of, because here after g takes h6 we have now this wrong bishop's position, and now it's draw because you cannot promote this h pawn to queen because we have the wrong bishop. If we would have maybe a dark square bishop here, it would be completely winning here. So you see, white didn't calculate all of that, although it's also a strong player, and but he fell for this cheap trick and really got punished. But that's why you should always calculate, you should always consider your opponent's possibilities. Why did he play that? It's sometimes hard. I sometimes myself don't apply this principle, but it's really important to have the continuation, to be concentrated through the whole game and try to win this winning position. So here it's a game played by Viktor Korchnoi against Anatoly Karpov, and here Viktor Korchnoi didn't realize his opponent's threat, because he should have realized that here Anatoly Karpov has 3 pieces around the white's king, and also supported with his king here on e2, and that's why he tried maybe here to try promote his pawn on the a file, simply push it forward. But the best, it's really a drawish position, because here Viktor Korchnoi should have played here the move g3, and what white can do is what black can do is some perpetual checks here with this knight, and it will be really a draw. But here Viktor Korchnoi played the mistake. He played rook on a1 and really got punished, because now we have a very nice check here, knight on f3, and it's game over, because if you move the king on h1, then you get checkmated on f2. If you take here g takes f3, then we have rook on g6, very powerful. You have to move the king here on h1, and then knight on f2, game over. So you see, again, Viktor Korchnoi didn't calculate every position, because he was too secure. I think in this position he had three pawns. He has 3 pawns and a rook for these 2 knights, and he was probably thinking, okay, I cannot get checkmated by these pieces, but he didn't calculate till the end. As I mentioned, this is a very important principle: calculation in every move, not only in some middle games, even in this end games. You should really calculate all of the tactical possibilities by your opponent. So here we have the game played by Miguel Najdorf against Bobby Fischer, and you see now how Bobby Fischer will blunder here in the continuation of the game, and that's this addiction to your plan, because here probably Bobby Fischer was trying to create the blockade against this potential d6 move, and he played the move knight on d6, but the knight on d6 is really a blunder, because we have here in the continuation, after knight on d6, knight takes on d6. After queen takes on d6, we have knight takes on b7, rook takes on b7, and now queen on c8, and you simply lose the rook and of course the game. The better move is of course knight on f6, because you see, sometimes when we read the position, we want to create the blockade against this pawn, we want to create a blocking system against this potential d6, but you simply sometimes get too addicted to this idea of the blockade. So that's why knight on f6 here was the better move. Okay, white can try maybe queen on f4 with taking the pawn, but now bishop on a8 can be played, and maybe after d6 trading off these bishops, and now maybe create the blockade. So you see, it's the same idea, but you rushed really into your own possibilities. You really tried to get your plan through the whole game, and here even one of the best chess players in history, Bobby Fischer, got punished because he really stuck to this plan. And at the end of this video, I wanted to show you one of the best blunders in chess history. Here it's a game played by Etienne Bacrot. I'm talking here about a 2700 player. He was playing against Ernesto in Kiev, and you can pause the video and try to find the worst move here. And of course it's the move here, queen on e7 with a very powerful check, and here we have knight takes on e7, and in this position Etienne Bacrot resigned. So unbelievable stuff. You see here, a 2700 player resigned. He blundered really the queen in one move. You see, it happens to all of us, and I hope you can apply this principle sometimes. As I mentioned, checking your opponent's threats, new rules, new positions, that's very important, because the dynamics of the games are always changing. So when the position changes with one particular move, we have new positions. Don't get too addicted to your plan. As I mentioned, sometimes you played on the simple plan but the position has changed. Now we have a new plan, we have new dynamics. Understand the position, and a draw is a draw, as I always like to say. Don't get too angry if you maybe get a draw against a low rated player, because you didn't play this game very well, and at least you can maybe get a draw. Don't lose the game, that's very important. And as I mentioned, never forget your opponent's threats, because they are always present. Your opponent has always some tactical possibilities. Chess is all about tactics. You saw now in this couple of examples how Anatoly Karpov really crushed with a very nice checkmate pattern here. And calculate every move, it's very important, and calculate till the end. It means you should really see these tactics. Of course, there are better tacticians, there are worse tacticians, but try to see as far as you can in the continuation of the middle game, because you see tactics are really important. So I hope you enjoyed this video. We are continuing also with our basics in chess with some other opening principles, middle game strategies and the endgame strategies. And here is my previous video of the psychologics in chess. Meanwhile, you can watch my other videos with some chess tactics and chess puzzles if you want to improve your tactical skills in the middle game. And you can also subscribe to my channel if you like this content. Thanks you for watching, guys, and chess is the best, of course.